Hi, Laura. It's so nice to have you join me today.
Hey Loretta, it's so good to be here.
Oh, I love we were just reminiscing that it's only been 3 months since you graduated from your mastership, but it feels so much longer than 3 months because so much has shifted and changed in that time. And um, I know as well that not just during your mastership, but that time after your graduation, it's almost like that extended time of integration and processing, and so again it feels like there's more transformation happening even in the months afterwards. So I can imagine you're looking back going, oh my god, last time I saw you was just in November, but my gosh, it feels like my whole life has changed, and I'm sure your business has changed as well. And so amazing, so amazing. I'd love you to share a little bit about the work that you do and where you're located, and also, yeah, how people can find you and work with you as well before we get into it.
Absolutely. So it's funny that you say that because it feels like the last few months the dust has just settled, and I was feeling like, oh, I kind of feel like this new version of me, this level up, which is really nice. It's really started to integrate. So I'm the founder of Padma Wellness, and what I offer at the moment is holistic counselling, nervous system regulation, Reiki, of course, and soon we'll be offering Reiki practitioner training too, which I'm so excited about. I'm located in Perth, WA, but I'm also see clients online as well.
So amazing. And now I love how you got into Reiki, because I think a lot of people can also relate to your story in terms of, you were on this trajectory to do holistic counseling, and as part of your course, you had to complete some Reiki studies, um, and thought, oh, okay, great, I'll just tick this off the list of, things that I have to do to finish my course. But share what happened during that process of learning Reiki.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I had to do Reiki, I honestly, it's weird. For some reason, I'd never had Reiki before. And I was really into energy work. I was really into all of this stuff, but I just never had Reiki. So when I had to do it, I was like, look, I've got to do level one and level two, but I'm not going to use it. I'll just do it, get my diploma, and get on with my counseling. Um, and not to scare anyone off, but for me in my journey, I had just gone through a period of deep healing when I was going into my level one. And I thought, done and dusted, that stuff was healed, which obviously I know it occurs in layers. But I went into my level one and I was not okay. I thought I was broken, but it was just all that stuff coming back up. And this is one of my very first big lessons in surrender. I just got to this point where I was like, I just need to surrender and let this work. Um, and once I did that, everything started to settle. And I started to work through some really big stuff and see some huge shifts. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll use Reiki for me. And then I had to go and do my level two, which was required as well. And I was scared. I was like, level one really threw me around. Um, so I was a little bit scared about what level two was going to bring for me, but it was beautiful. There was no big things coming up. It was just this really beautiful experience. And then I started practicing on friends and family. And during this time, I started to have all this intuition come through. I started to channel messages. All my clairs started to come through, which I didn't know could happen. No one had told me that this could happen. So I was like, what is going on? But I started to really love the process. The feeling of giving someone else Reiki is just so beautiful. I'm walking out of those sessions just feeling so full up, so embodied, so connected, and really connected to source was just out of this world. And at that point, I was like, yeah, I want to use this and I want to continue my journey at some point to eventually do masters. So yeah, it was unexpected but really beautiful.
Oh, I think everything that you said, I hear so often from students in terms of level one, not what they expected, and very similar. They're just sort of learning a tool. They don't really think much will happen, or you know, their expectations are sort of quite low, and then come in and similar. I thought I healed all of that, and you know, get totally shaken about, and then are fearful to go into level two, and only to find that actually a lot. I know for myself personally as well, it wasn't until I did level two that I sort of felt like it closed the loop and answered a lot of questions for me. It was like, oh, now everything feels like it's more cemented since doing level one. Like I really understand a lot more. And I think by that time too, you're a lot more experienced in playing around with the energy. Level two really helps you understand, I think, a little bit more about really how it works, because obviously you start doing distant healings and you,
Mhm.
yeah, you know, you're really understanding what energy is, and I guess what it's like working within the quantum, and you know, that sort of feel.
Mhm.
Whereas at level one, I guess it's still, you know, it's still sort of concentrated on the here and now, and you're focusing on the tangible, like it's a hands-on healing, all of that sort of stuff. So I think level two really starts to open you up, and like you said, open up that you know, intuitive part of who you are and those gifts. And that of course is so unexpected as well. It's like, oh, but it's just Reiki, like I'm not, you know, this isn't like a, you know, I didn't expect it to be so part of my spiritual development or anything like that. But it's, yeah, it's amazing. And I love that you've had those experiences, and the way that you describe your experience working with another person and practicing Reiki with somebody else, like that was so beautiful, Laura. I love it. And you're right. It's I think it's really sacred. I know that a lot of people have
Mhm.
um, some, you know, they have a little bit of apprehension sometimes about practicing on others, even if it's just a loved one, because they feel like, oh, I don't know if it's something that I can do. And what if I don't do it well? And, you know, there's a lot of the kind of self-doubt and all of that sort of stuff that comes into it. But um, the way that you just described all of that and the benefits of that is just so special, because as practitioners, we get to enjoy the session, you know, it,
Mhm.
yeah, you know, it really is
Absolutely.
just working through us. It's so beautiful. Oh, I love it. It's amazing. So tell me what, I guess you did, you know, you decided that you mastership would be an option after doing level two. What, I guess, brought you to making that decision? And I guess what were some of the challenges that you were facing when you decided to do that as well?
Okay, so I can't actually remember what prompted me exactly to start my master's, but I'd always said after level two, I'll know when I'm ready. And there was no pressure on myself to do it. It was just when the time is right. And there was something that told me the time was right. And I think the more I speak to other people about their Reiki journeys, I think everyone has very similar prompts in the like Reiki just starts appearing everywhere. Everyone's talking about Reiki. Reiki books pop up, whatever it is. And I think it was just similar to that. There was things about masters here, things about masters here. And the last couple of years, I really started to drop into leading from my heart. And when it kind of tuned into it's time to do Reiki Masters, it just felt so expansive. It just felt like this full body, full heart yes. So I just knew it was time. I knew I couldn't put it off anymore. And I felt really ready because I was told that when you do your masters, anything in your life that isn't in alignment with your highest path is going to go. So I was a little bit nervous about it. It was like, oh, what's going to get thrown in the air? What's going to go? But by the time I was ready, it was a feeling of it doesn't matter. Whatever falls away for my highest good. I know that it's all happening for me and everything will work out perfectly. So there was no more apprehension. There was no more nervousness. It was just like, I'm excited. Let's do this.
Oh, I love that. I know that there's some fear around beginning, I guess, because like when you sign up, that you're saying there's that part of you that's affirming and committing to saying, yes, like I'm ready to change. I'm ready to change my life, and I'm ready to make those changes and allow whatever needs to come through to come through. And changing is, it can be really scary, can't it? Especially when we've held on to people or beliefs or, events, experiences, like we hold on to so much for so long. And then that idea of not having that in our life anymore, and how would we be without that? It's really scary. It also highlights, I think, what it is that is that part of you that is attaching to that old stuff, right? And what in you needs to change in order to let that go. I think that's probably, it's probably one of the biggest challenges, I guess, people face during their mastership as well, because you can't hide from it. It's like,
I feel like it's a big shift, or for me, my master's was a big shift of going into things from a place of fear and going into things from a place of love. Because as soon as I was like, let's just lean in with love, everything's okay.
yeah,
Everything's going to work out exactly as it's meant to. And everything just feels so much more expansive. So it's like there's no need to fear what's going to fall away because it's meant to. So yeah,
yes.
there's definitely a lot of surrender.
Yes, that is so beautiful. And I noticed you use that word even in level 1. It was like, I'm just going to surrender to whatever needs to be. Tell me more a little bit about that, I guess, that surrender piece. Like, how did you, when you started your mastership, did you feel like, did you know that that was something that you had to work on a little bit more, given you had already sort of been through that with level 1, level 2?
Yeah, I think I knew that I could surrender more. I definitely didn't feel the need to control things as much as I used to, but there was still a level of control or feeling that if things didn't look the way I thought they should right now, that something was wrong. Rather than trusting the process, surrendering to the process, and realizing that the bigger picture was so much bigger than what I could even imagine at that point. So, trust and surrender were probably two of the biggest things I ended up taking from my master's journey. I had so much stuff come up in my life, things that were like out of my control that I really couldn't do anything about, that I didn't know how to get through. And I just had to be like, okay, I trust, I surrender, let's just go for the ride. And things worked out incredibly in all of those scenarios. And this is one of the things that's integrated so much for me since my master's journey, is just being able to really surrender and trust and just understand that even if something doesn't feel right now, it's going to work out exactly as it's meant to, which is probably going to be so incredibly beautiful down the track. So it's been pretty huge.
Oh my God, I love that. I love that. Um, do you feel like other people have noticed that difference in you as well?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, definitely friends and family, I would say so. I think I'm just a lot calmer about life events. Like, for example, yesterday, car air conditioning broke. Going to cost about $2,000 to fix. Like, ouch, while driving around hot and sweaty. And don't get me wrong, I still got that little bit annoyed and that little bit like, oh. But then I had my moment. And it's just like, okay, it is what it is. This is just life. And just continue on rather than creating a lot of suffering around an event that's going to happen anyway that I can't really change. Um, I think when I started my master's, I was still experiencing quite extreme duality. Like I'd have these really high highs, and then if something wasn't going exactly to plan, I'd suddenly drop back down to it's not working, I'm out of alignment, what's wrong? Whereas after the masters, I just feel a lot more steady. So I might have these little like ups and downs, but it's just pretty steady. Whereas at the beginning, it was like,
Mm.
life would happen and you'd create this big story around it. And that would create suffering or whatever it was. Whereas now it's like, it's just life. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, that is so beautiful. And I think that, you know, what you're describing is that difference of I'm allowing life to determine how I feel, compared to this is how I feel. And I know that if that is strong, life is going to happen for me, right? And it's not, but ultimately it's not going to shift how, you know, my vibration and who I am and how I feel and all that sort of stuff. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
exactly. And just stopping like no longer resisting life.
Mm. Yeah, just flowing with whatever's happening. Oh, I love it so much. It's so beautiful. And I think that just even I love your example with the air conditioning breaking, because it's little things like that that I think that's where we notice the differences. We don't always notice them, or when something really significant happens in our life and big and things like that as well. But in our day-to-day, not much changes in our day-to-day. Obviously, you know, things are going to happen like that and things are going to break and all that sort of stuff. But the way we're reacting, or, you know, how we're feeling about things is so noticeable. And it might be subtle, but it has, you know, all in all, you can see how much that has changed your life.
Yeah, definitely.
So beautiful. I love that. Um, So you did the group mastership. I'd love to talk a little bit about that and just share,
Hmm.
because obviously there's, you know, there's the a private option, and then there's the option to come in with the group. And obviously the group isn't huge when we say group. I think you
Hmm.
seven in your six in your group.
6, I think. Yeah.
Six in your group. Tell me, I guess, what drew you to practicing with a group, and just sharing a little bit about that experience as well.
Hmm. So to be completely honest,
Yeah.
firstly, I actually really resisted working with you because I wanted to do my mastership in 3 days and get it done and then be out there teaching. And I was like, oh, 6 months is such a long time. So I literally looked into so many other master's programs, and every time there was just a little bit like, oh, no, that's not right for some reason. And I kept getting drawn back to you, drawn back to you. So eventually, again, I was like, okay, I'm going to trust my intuition, surrender to this, and just trust that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm so glad I did. Um,
I did
and
the same thing, Laura, if it's any consolation. I don't think you're alone, and it's a really good thing to bring up, because it is a big difference. It's a massive commitment, 6 months compared to 3 days. And
Mhm.
yeah, so I love that you just, you know, follow that intuition and was like, you know, for some reason I know I need to do this. Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing
Yeah.
that.
Oh, and I mean, I'm so glad I did. Now that I've done the 6 months, like I've done a lot of healing in other areas, I've done a lot of study, a lot of courses, and this 6 months was the most challenging and easiest study I've ever done. Um, and just like the ultimate personal level up, personally, spiritually, all of that. It was just, and I remember multiple times throughout the 6 months sitting there going, are the people that do a 3 day course okay? Because this is a lot. And I just realized that both for myself and for my future clients, who I teach Reiki to, that 6 months is going to give me such a solid foundation, and such an embodied experience to then teach from. So it was definitely meant to happen, and I'm so glad I did it that way. And I would absolutely recommend it to anybody looking at doing their masters, because it's about the change in you, and that change in you then goes out to everybody else. Um, so, and I'm not actually sure why I chose the group over the one-on-one, because in the past I probably preferred one-on-one teachings. And again, I think it's just one of those things that I kind of, it just happened. And again, I'm really, really glad it did, because it was such a beautiful and supportive experience.
Yeah, it's really nice. I think, as you said, it can be really challenging. Some, you know, some weeks were, right? Some weeks it was like, whoa, I can't believe what I'm experiencing. Um, and I think knowing that you've got this group of people. Obviously, you know, Steph and I, they're supporting you as your mentors, but also you've got all these other people around you as well who totally get what you're going through, because they're going through it as well. And I think that is, again, you know, it's not for everyone, but certainly if you want to have that connection with others and that additional support, and you know, it's just really beautiful to go through it with you know, others at the same time as well.
Definitely. And it was actually really surprising how often a few of us would be going through the exact same thing at the same time. So we could really offer that support, which was really nice. And you didn't feel so alone, or am I doing something wrong because I'm going through this? Where it was like, oh, okay, this is part of the process. And I think for me, and I think for quite a few of the girls, having people you could talk about all things like woo-woo to was
Yeah.
really nice, because most of my friends aren't into this kind of thing. Like, you know, they have an understanding and they're very accepting, but if I'm going to start talking about how I spoke to other beings or channeled light language or whatever it is, they're just going to stare at me like, what? So having this group of women who are just like, yeah, I'm getting so excited and we're all talking about this stuff and no one thinks you're crazy, was really, really nice and really, really supportive.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. I love that. And you guys are still supporting each other. I love it. You've still got the WhatsApp
Yeah,
group going, and yeah, it's just really beautiful, even just to continue on that support and with your journeys.
yeah.
I also wanted to ask you about the symbols, because obviously that is the foundation of the 6 month vortex, you know, as it is.
Hmm.
Almost like you enter this paradigm when you do this particular mastership through this lineage. And that is something that is also different compared to other lineages that are just like the 3 days or just, you know, a week or so. How did you go? I wanted to ask you about this because a lot of students after level 2 even and 3A come in and they say, I don't really like symbols. I don't use them a lot. What was your relationship with symbols before the mastership, and how is it now? Like, how do you feel like that relationship has changed?
Yeah.
If it has.
So before the masters, I kind of feel like I use symbols out of obligation.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, the symbol for distance Reiki I used when I was doing distance Reiki. And then the others, I kind of was like, oh, okay, well, I should use these symbols on each chakra, and just did it, as opposed to there being a real intention behind it. But when working with you and you taught us to channel the symbols ourselves and to sit with those symbols, they took on a real energy, and you could feel that energy almost like their own entity. So it was like I'm bringing this beautiful entity and energy into the practice, whether on myself or someone else. And so it no longer felt like something you just do. It was like a helping energy coming in to help me clear or whatever it is we're doing. So it was just like almost like a friend coming in to help. I absolutely loved the process of channeling and sitting with the symbols. That was just beautiful. Probably one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
Um, and since Masters, I've just started to, if I remember, I'll sit down purposely with a symbol that week and kind of connect with it again. And it's been funny to see how what comes through has actually changed since the first time I channeled it, because of how I've changed, which has been really cool. Or even if I'm like, okay, what symbol should I work with this week? And I close my eyes and I flick through, and then the symbol that comes up is just so relevant to whatever's going on for me at that point. Um, but yes, I feel like I've got a relationship with them now. Whereas before it was just this thing that you did, and now there's a relationship there. It's really beautiful.
Oh, that's amazing. I just had chills through it the whole time you were talking, and it's, yeah, so beautiful. Yeah, I do. I always, you know, say to people who are thinking about doing the mastership but are worried about the symbols and working with those, that like it's just not a thing to worry about, because you almost can't help but create a relationship with them, right? By the end. Yeah. Just in what you experience, and the, yeah, the, I guess everything that you're going throughout the mastership is so underpinned by the symbols. They're a huge part of it. But so beautiful. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing your experience and sharing a little bit about some of the challenges that you faced and some of also the learnings and growings as well. And as you said, you are now so you're obviously working with Reiki as part of all of your other offerings, but you're also going to start teaching soon.
Yes, so I have worked with a couple of clients who've just contacted me recently, who've done their levels ones or two before, but don't feel super confident and just want some little refreshers or and I've loved it so much. Again, with the leading from the heart, my heart chakra just goes like and I just walk out feeling just so in alignment, so full. It's just so beautiful. So I definitely feel that that's a big direction for me now. I'm really, really excited to start offering the courses and just that experience of being on the other side and going through it with them. And
Oh, I love it.
yeah.
I love it, Laura. It's amazing. And did you have, obviously when you did level 1, you had no idea you'd be teaching, let alone using Reiki, but how has that idea changed for you throughout the levels?
Um, so even when I first finished level 2 and was like, I will continue with Reiki, I still wasn't sure that I would teach it. It was just I feel for my own journey. I want to continue with this. But then as I've just gone along, there's just been this deep knowing in me that I am supposed to share this. And I'm feeling my business change. It started to change during Masters, and I can feel it changing more and more now in the direction we're heading in, which is really exciting. And Reiki is kind of the backbone of that. Like it just feels like Reiki is just this really solid foundation for my spiritual journey, for my business's growth and expansion. Um, I'm really supportive of it all, which is just really beautiful.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it so much. I love how you're using Reiki and incorporating it, just even in your business. And yeah, I can just imagine that you're going to just have so many incredible students that are going to learn from you and who need you, Laura, and have needed you to go through what you've been through in order to step up to that level and be able to help mentor them through the same sort of thing. And yeah, it's just incredible. I love your commitment as well to Reiki. Even now, I love that you're still connecting to the symbols, as we went through in the mastership. And yeah, it's just so beautiful. And I think that really sets you up for that foundation of continuously growing, because as you would already know, our connection deepens, it continues to evolve. I don't think it ever kind of plateaus or stays anywhere.
Mm.
It's a continuous growth, just like our self development is as well. And yeah, I just can't wait for you to be able to start sharing that with others as well. It's amazing.
Mm. It's so
Amazing.
lovely. And I was reflecting on my self-practice this morning. I was like, what is it that I love so much about giving myself Reiki? And it's just that as soon as you drop in that connection to source, and it's like the illusion of separateness just disappears. And there's almost like these beautiful hug just holding you, and you can feel all this connection and all this support and all this belonging. And you just don't feel alone at all in anything you're going through. It's just this absolute connection. And it's so nurturing. It's just so incredibly beautiful. So I think even if you never wanted to practice Reiki for others or as a practitioner, doing Reiki for yourself is just one of the most beautiful gifts you can give yourself. It's incredible.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's actually necessary for everyone to learn Reiki and that practice of just being in and totally connected, that being of oneness. And
Mm.
yeah, it's amazing. Like you just described it. I love that, like a hug. It really is. And the
Mm,
best way to start your morning.
absolutely.
sets you up for the day. Oh, thank you so much, Laura. It's been such an honor to teach you and to continue watching your journey. Thank you so much for trusting in me. And
Thank you.
I'm just so excited to continue watching your whole journey unfold.
Thank you. And thank you for the way you held us through that container for the 6 months. It was just beautiful. Um, you kind of created, like, the way I see it is you have this beautiful safe container for us. And a little analogy was like you were our little school teacher and we were like little kids and you're letting us out into the yard to play and explore. You weren't trying to control our journey in any way. You're just letting us play and explore, but having a watchful eye on us so that you could guide us if we got a little bit stuck or it felt a bit too much. And you're just this beautiful safety net and guide, and you just create such a safe place to explore the highs and the lows and the absolute incredible journey that it was. So thank you so much.
Oh, that means so much to me. Thank you. Oh, oh, it's really, yeah, it's just really, really beautiful. And I'm already missing the little group. It's, yeah, it just was really beautiful. Just the little...
I kind of want to do it again. Just I miss it.
I know. You get really used to catching up every week and yeah,
Mm,
just learning intimately about each other and what life is throwing at you and how we're evolving and changing and what's coming through. And yeah, and I mean, one of the things we didn't touch on very much, but we talked a lot about the life kind of stuff that was going on, but your spiritual growth was exponential as well. I mean, you talked a little bit about how your gifts started manifesting through your clairs and all that sort of stuff, but it was so amazing to watch even on that level. And I would say that's one thing that I also really honor as part of the mastership is when people get to that point where they're allowing those gifts to come through. And I think it's really important that you're in a safe space to
mm.
play with those and yeah, and to make sure that you're being guided in a way where it feels like you can be in somewhat control and also understand that you can go at your own pace with all of that and allow it to come through.
Absolutely. Like I had some pretty out there experiences and gifts come through and things that I really didn't expect. And I think had I not been in a safe container and with you and able to trust you, it would have been quite scary. Like, there's a lot of times like they're playing in the astral. I had a couple of astral projection experiences and astral travel and channeling came through very strongly and all of that. And beings coming through and connecting. And it felt so good and exciting and in alignment. Whereas I can see without that safe container and without that guidance, that could have been really scary. So it just made it such a beautiful experience.
And like you said, being able to share those experiences and someone else in the group being able to say, that's happening for me too. And oh my God,
Yeah,
you're not weird, right? Yeah, it's really
yeah, absolutely.
comforting. Well, thank you so much. And so it's Padma Wellness, and people can find you on Instagram. I love your Instagram so much. You have the most beautiful, inspiring, educational reels and posts, and yeah, it's such a great follow. So I'd really
Thank
encourage
you.
everyone to give you a follow, and just to get in touch with you for teaching, learning, and having a session with you as well. So
Yeah,
thank you.
thank you so much, Loretta.